If you're new to self-improvement, you'll probably be yelled at by all these different influencers and gurus to start reading. And they'll all give you different suggestions on which books to start with. And at least for me, that was really confusing. All those people are definitely a lot more qualified than I am. I'm just a 15-year-old. But I'd argue that they've lost touch with how it feels to be right at the beginning of your journey, with no clue where to start. I won't waste your time. The best book to read if you're starting self-improvement is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is one of the first books I ever read. Now this is just one man's opinion, but it gave me a very solid foundation, and a year and a half later, I still use a lot of the principles in this book every day. Reading has become a really big part of my life, and I think that cutting out really stimulating things like video games and social media and Netflix has, and also starting to implement good habits like lifting weights and learning and meditating has made me appreciate simple and less stimulating forms of entertainment, like reading. Now, notice what I just said. I was talking about starting good habits, like weightlifting and meditating, and also avoiding bad habits like scrolling on social media and playing video games. Everything in self-improvement is based around habits. Probably see where I'm going with this. Enter Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's really the best foundational book you can possibly read because, as I said, everything in self-improvement revolves around making new good habits and breaking old bad ones. I just want to quickly cover a couple of the main concepts in this book to get you interested and give you some insights into the book if you decide to read it. One of the biggest principles that James Clear talks about in this book is incremental change, the concept of getting 1% better every day. He talks about the power of daily actions and the compound effect of habits. So, that's like if you play video games and scroll on social media today, it might be small. It continues to be small over the days, still small over the weeks, over the months. But as you get into years and all of that compounds, the negative effects skyrocket. But it's the same thing with, say, lifting weights or meditating or reading. It might seem small today, but sooner or later, after weeks, months, and years, that compound effect basically leads to exponential growth in your life. New Year's resolutions are an example of people going about change the wrong way. You set this massive, unrealistic goal and expect to change overnight, but that's not how it works. It takes a lot of time and effort over a long period of time. Another big concept he talks about is the habit loop. So this is made up of 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. Pretty straightforward, right? But cue is, let's just use, you're trying to quit video games, for example. The cue would be seeing your Xbox there, or seeing your PC, or whatever. So that's the cue. Becoming aware of the existence of the thing that generates a craving. Craving, that's the second stage, is the feeling of wanting to do something. Response is the decision you make, whether you pick up the controller and start playing video games, or whether you ignore the craving. And then the reward is, the stimulation you get from playing the video game. So that's the habit loop. And a large portion of the book is geared around hacking that loop to benefit you. So instead of having cues for all the bad habits around you, which generate cravings, which lead to a response, lead to a reward, which reinforces that behavior, he talks about removing cues for the bad habits and replacing them with cues for the good habits, which generate a craving for the good habits, which generates a response, which generates a reward, which positively reinforces the good habits and the good behaviors. A massive and really deep concept that he goes into a lot of detail in the book is identity-based change. He talks about the different layers of change. Basically, people are like onions, donkey. They have layers. If you get that reference, I love you. But at the core of the onion, right, the center of the onion, so your identity is at the core of your personal onion, right? So changing or modifying your identity is the most powerful and most long-term way to create change in your habits and behaviors. I'll give you an example. Two people are trying to quit smoking. The first person goes throughout their day saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, right? They're offered a cigarette. No thanks, I'm trying to quit. They still see themselves as a smoker. They see themselves as somebody who smokes cigarettes, but is trying not to. So they're at a party, they get offered a cigarette, and they say, oh, I'm trying to quit. But all their friends, like, oh, but this is still your identity, you're still a smoker. And they keep offering. Eventually that person's going to smoke again. But the person who says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker anymore. Do you see the difference? It's small, but instead of labeling yourself as a smoker who's trying to quit, you're saying, I'm not that person anymore. And that sort of no longer identifying with that habit is super powerful. I touched on this before, but the book talks about the importance of creating a good environment, and making the good habits not just obvious, but attractive, making them appealing, right? So, for example, if you're trying to start lifting weights, if you're trying to start going to the gym, and you buy yourself a couple of sets of really nice gym clothes, like a really nice tank top that you like, maybe a new pair of shoes, you buy yourself some gear that's really awesome and exciting for you. That's gonna get you super excited about working out because you're like, oh sweet, I get to put on these new clothes and become this person who goes to the gym, right? So not only are you hacking your identity, but you're also hacking your environment. And pair those together, design your environment to be supporting your new good identity and making it very difficult for you to lapse back into that old, less positive identity. So a big concept he talks about in the book is focusing on systems over outcome-based goals. Instead of being focused on an outcome, be focused on building the system that's going to get you there. Now, I slightly disagree. I think that's powerful, but that's 50% of the equation. So, let me explain what I mean. I think you need both. I think you need that big outcome-based goal to inspire you, to motivate you, to make you feel excited about, where you're going. But then, instead of just focusing on that, keep that in mind to motivate and inspire you, but put your time and energy into building the system that's going to get you there. Use the ambition and the inspiration from that big goal to give you the energy and the passion to build that system. This book will help you understand what a habit is, how it works, some of the neuroscience and psychology behind behavior change and making and breaking habits, and then teach you the skills you need to build the systems that will bring you to your goals. So, pretty neat book. I love it. I highly recommend it. Go to a bookshop or Amazon, or get a secondhand one off eBay or something, or DM me on Instagram and I'll mail this to you. Don't do that, I can't be fucked. Highly recommend reading it. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Consider subscribing if you want to see some more content like this. And yeah, I'll see you next time.